Some definitions. Gender. This is a very small purple flower. It only grows in the Orkney Islands, brackets, Orkney, the Orkneys, and the very north of Scotland. It actually has two flowerings, the first in May and another, the second one, sometimes in July. Sex. The god Apollo went to the sleeping bower of the god Dionysus and raised above her head a bar of high-strength, low-alloy steel measuring approximately 1500 by 200 by 75 millimeters, and then she struck Dionysus several times until her head was a pomegranate and apple smoothie. A whiteness spilled forth from the world, very bright and very loud. Everything was good and pure, and only the right things survived. I think about this sometimes in the moment before I send a poem to the printer. You know, how the stack of paper looks very clean and square before it goes through the rollers, and inevitably it prints a bit squint. Anyway, Dionysus probably came back to life, and there was revenge or something, and the drivers for my Canon iSense LBP 6030 are pretty unreliable, because each time I get a new laptop I have to do a little ritual with a waxy jar of bodily fluids and a dead bird in order to print anything. It's pretty frustrating. Sexuality. The bus advert for the news programme on the New Scottish Channel, the one they're calling The Nine, like it's a team of Marvel villains, has the blue letters The New News on a pink background. Maybe salmon pink. It's just a shade greyer than Living Coral, which is Pantone colour of the year 2019, and which the Pantone website says embraces us with warmth and nourishment to provide comfort and buoyancy in our continually shifting environment. This itself is much redder than Rose Quartz, Pantone colour of the year 2016, a persuasive yet gentle tone that conveys compassion and a sense of composure, alongside its pale Serenity, weightless and airy, like the expanse of the blue sky above us, bringing feelings of respite and relaxation even in turbulent times. Both of these colours were familiar to fans of the musical genre Vaporwave, an internet-based micro-genre that was built upon the experimental and ironic tendencies of genres such as chillwave and hypnagogic pop, as they were often seen on the album covers and clothing and merch that the bands sold. Although now that I'm checking Wikipedia, seminal vaporwave album Floral Shop 2011 by Macintosh Plus uses a tone much closer to Living Coral. The point of saying this is to indicate that when Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada 2006 talks about how Andy's cerulean sweater, which is not cerulean by the way, that's Pantone 154020, and is much lighter and softer than Andy's lumpy sweater, has a colour selected as a fashion trend by experts based on significant collections by Oscar de la Renta and Yves Saint Laurent, she, of course, misses out the stage where Oscar de la Renta and Yves Saint Laurent were themselves inspired by internet-based micro-genres or whatever the equivalent was at the time. Broadcaster Andrew Neil is going to wear a Living Coral sweater more often than any other sweater in 2021. May the coral consume him. Transgender. Have you ever remembered in the middle of writing a poem or, I don't know, doing the dishes that you're going to die? It's sort of banal to point out, sure, but actually I think it's pretty magnificent, this daily confrontation with death. Scrub, scrub, I'm going to die. Scrub, scrub. Living beings, even in the most decayed of late capitalist states, somehow make it through each day remembering multiple times that they're going to die. Some of us die more often and more readily than others, which makes me angry. I have this plate that I recovered from a bin in St Andrews in 2007. It's very large, part of a set, and I've carried it to every house I've lived in since then, I think 10. It survived the moment I had a classic autistic meltdown, only I didn't know at the time that that's what it was, in this case about my housemates' washing up habits, and threw every piece of crockery in the house at the kitchen wall. In the last year, it's developed a very thin, barely noticeable crack running down the centre, ding, 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 almost entirely from one side to the other. It's the sort of crack that you only really notice when you, flex the plate in the hot dishwater. I have to work really hard not to keep flexing the plate, the only way to check on the crack, which makes the crack slightly larger. Ding, 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 because it's such a lovely, painful, scraping, bending, breaking sort of feeling. I can't hear it, obviously, but it does seem like sound is travelling up through my fingers into my basal ganglia. I know the plate is going to break one day soon, and I don't know whether I can survive that.